Yeah, hey everybody, this is Ian from mindfulmarketplace.com, and in this short video or brief presentation, I'm going to share with you some of the best practices that we are learning about doing email outreach or using email marketing to build our brand, to connect with our community, and to cultivate clients in a fun, creative, and bootstrapped way. So there are lots of rules and lots of guides on using email marketing to build your business, especially cold email. Lots of them are kind of bullshitty. Lots of them are are niche specific, or there are not the one rule that's not in this set of rules that I'm putting forth here is that there really are no rules. You have to really experiment with this art yourself. It's more of an art than a science. I have learned um, two things actually over the years of doing this with various degrees of success. One, you're always going to have more success the more that you try and apply and optimize and improve and tweak and critique this process, right? It never is as good on day one as it's going to be on day 100. And the other thing that I've learned is that um, you know, something that works in one niche doesn't always work in the other from a languaging standpoint. You have to be very mindful of the sort of jargon and the psychographic, demographic information that is related to your particular area or your niche, your vertical. Using language, let's say, for mindfulness teachers, this is what we're working on now, comparing that to working on similar niches or similar email outreach on a local community, let's say in a city or a town, for a restaurant or a car detailer, is very different, right? So you have to be mindful of that you want to, again, tweak and critique, optimize and improve your messaging predicated on your market. All right, that being said, these are the things that we have found are working the best right now. And I can tell you for sure that the number one thing has been this, right? Using humor, is not only a great way of standing out, but we're also doubling literally at this point. I'm recording this at the very, very end of July of 2020. We're doubling our response rates. I'm not going to tell you exactly, the messaging that we're using. Actually, I'm going to have some of this in our community, in our course community, which is private. If you're a member, I will be posting some of this over the next 10 days or so you can actually see the exact emails that we're using. But I can tell you that using some, COVID humor, loosely done or tastefully done, just in light of the fact that we're all living through this shitstorm of a universe without any real finite end in focus, has really gotten some good laughs and some good, and I'm tailoring it to our niche as well. So we're getting some good chuckles out of our, cold emails from people who are telling us, hey, that really made me laugh, or that surprised us, or that surprised me, and that's really why I responded. Right? We've had a couple of people who said, I don't ever respond to these, but just because you just made me laugh, I'm interested to learn more. All right, number two, personalize everything. Personalize the subject line, the hello, and then one extra personalization element in the actual copy. Typically, at the very end, I'm finding is best for me, best for us. If you don't personalize anything, you're going to get a really bad response, right? So I worked with somebody a couple of days ago on the phone um, who's having a tough time with their own community outreach using email. And when I looked at the emails that they're sending, none of them have any personalization, right? They're not even saying, like identifying the name of the business or the name of the person who's running the business. That's just that's a score on your own goal sort of mistake. You don't want to make, you don't want to omit the most important, noun, which is the person that you're addressing, right? So personalize your emails. Okay, lead with industry news or something happening in their business, right? Not yours. This is a mistake that I used to always make. I would kind of puff my chest out and want to talk about what we were doing. and how what we were doing could benefit them. What I'm finding works best is if you want to talk about something that's exploding or working really well, or something that's really hot, or talk about the industry overall, not your slice of the industry, not your community, right? So rather than being sort of prideful about it, just like use the industry or them, right? Talk about what's going on in their business that's exciting, and use this as the lead for the email. Also, you can tie humor into this in a really fun and playful way. If you're writing to restaurants, as I know some of the folks in my audience, my course community, are building local directories. You can make jokes about what's going on. No one, if you're living in a place where no one is going out, or there are stay-at-home orders in place, or restaurants are closed, you can make jokes around that sort of thing. In a be careful with this. You don't want to offend people, but you can make a light in a way of saying, hey, the better things are coming. The future is bright for all of us. Things are a little bit dismal right now, but here's how to plan for a prosperous future. All right, so play with this a little bit as well. All right, show your work, not your resume. Again, like one of the things I see people doing, and I've kind of had this tendency in the past before as well, is to talk about things that I've done, right? Where I've been, what I've built, et cetera, et cetera. Don't do that, right? Instead, show work that is related to their needs, right? So if you're selling web design services, you don't want to talk about the 50 websites that you've built, or the award that you won, or the college degree that you have. You want to show very specific examples of things right now that you've just completed that are germane or relevant to your audience, right? I mean, so if you're building mindfulness-oriented landing pages for book launches and things like that we're doing, you want to have examples of that work to show. And you want to say, this is what we're working on right now in July of 2020, and we thought this would be a really good fit for your brand, your business as well. Again, I would recommend you tie that in to the Google News Alerts piece that I did last week, so you can actually find out what people are working on in your target audience, and you can know, by dint of someone's being, referenced in the news for launching a new course, or doing an event in a local community, et cetera, et cetera. The more personalizations, the more that you know about your subjects, right? The extra work that you do, the more you're going to differentiate yourself from all of the loons who are just out there spamming everybody in the universe trying to get some work. All right, show your work, make it relevant to your audience. All right, if you're building a directory or a community, use your seed listings to establish the appearance of credibility, community, or the appearance of exclusivity. What that is, all that means is, seed your site. We all know what that means. You want to add a initial, portfolio, or that's the wrong word. You want to add listings. You want to add some demo content to your site. I also recommend using curated content for this, blog content, but of course you also need seed listings. Well, just add the people that are going to be most appealing to your audience. So when they see those folks are on your community already, you're going to look much more appealing to them, right? Because everyone wants to sort of do what the leaders in a niche market, vertical, industry, or locality are doing. And if you have some of those leaders listed already, it just gives you the ability to appear more, exclusive, more credible, et cetera, et cetera. The other thing I want to say before I forget this, it just occurred to me, some people always tell me when I say show your work, or some variant of that idea, that they haven't started doing work yet, right? So they don't have any work to show. Buy a template, a theme forest template, or a landing page template, or whatever it is, and just either install that on your server and customize it a little bit and just show that work, or just show the theme itself, right? I mean, you can send people, I mean, I've done this, and people don't notice. You can just send them, if you're selling restaurant, websites or web development or that sort of thing. Send, send your clients to a WordPress theme that's for restaurants that you bought, right? I mean, you could just show that work if you're actually going to be replicating or emulating the same exact demo. Okay, I'm not a really pushy person. I talk fast, and like in my own ear right now, it sounds like I'm yelling. So it probably sounds like I'm a pushy person. I'm actually not. I don't like to push people. I'm very, um, I'm really careful about who I work with. So saying ask for the sale might sound like an easy thing for me to suggest, but the truth is, you don't have to ask for a sale. The sale is really an action, right? You don't want to leave that last bit of that email outreach open. Hope we can collaborate in the future. Reach out if you have any questions. That sort of wishy-washy, kind of nonsense is not going to move you forward, right? Human psychology plays a role in all of this, and people need to have some finite focus about what it is that you're asking them to do, or they'll do nothing, right? Don't be passive, don't be pushy, but do have some action item that you want folks to do, or else they're going to do nothing. All right, number 7. This is a really, really important thing to do, and it's so easy, and it amazes me how nobody does it. Have a previous contact point as a reference, right? So you can actually say to someone, "Hey, Ian, my name is Joe, and I'm reaching out to you, and blah 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 blah. Loved your tweet last week on X. Really agree with that." I mean, so not only are you saying really, did I like that tweet? You can actually say, I like that tweet, or I retweeted your tweet, or I shared your Facebook post, or I did XYZ on your, Instagram share from last Tuesday, whatever it is, right? People are going to go back and they're going to look at that and they're going to be like, wow, this person actually is already engaged with me, and I didn't even realize it, or I didn't notice it, or I did notice it and didn't know who they were, and here they are appearing in my email inbox today. This is really, really easy to do. You can, this is especially relevant if you're reaching out to somebody. Well, it's relevant whether they have a big following or no, or really a small following. The psychological piece to this, which I found is salient and relevant, is that if people know that you're engaging with them on social media, they're going to be, of course, grateful and appreciative and all that good stuff, because we all want to be social media rock stars like the Kardashians, right? I mean, everyone, wants that Gary V sort of, following and all that fun stuff. I really don't actually, but in general, that's true about all of us deep down. But the other thing we're all afraid of, and this certainly applies to me as well, is if you're telling them by dint of that you shared or participated in their social media experience, right, and they don't respond, there is an added burden, this little trigger that you're setting in someone's mind that they should respond to you because they don't want to be publicly embarrassed or publicly shamed by you being like, wow, I reached out to you 4 times, Ian, and you never responded, even after I've like shared or retweeted all your, tweets or whatever. Right. So there's this other little, lever that you can pull when you reference having engaged with their social content in a previous, like another day, a previous week or whatever, right? So you're doing 2 things. You're kind of setting them up to respond to you because no one wants to be publicly shamed or publicly embarrassed. And all brands are much more sensitive to this these days. But it also, in the more altruistic or the more pure sense, people are good and people are they feel they have gratitude for those who support them in a public way, so they're going to be more likely to to want to say thank you, and the way to say thank you is to respond. All right, I think I said enough about that. And lastly, this is so important, and I learned this the hard way, but it's one of the best lessons that I've learned doing email outreach. Have a email 2 in the queue, right, and an email 3 and 4 too. Don't quit after just one. It's super easy to just give up after one email. And what I found, and this is really was a sort of, I had to push through this because I don't like just emailing people over and over again who aren't responding in a cold, I mean, if someone's on a newsletter list, it's one thing. or they signed up to be notified about, they're on a course, list or on a product list. But if you're emailing someone cold, it can feel awkward to like send them follow-ups when they haven't responded. But what I've learned and what all the best science and evidence on this is that the more emails that you send, the better your response and toto is going to be. So you're actually going to get the best responses after emails number 3 and 4 rather than email number 1, right? So if you never send 3 and 4, you'll never know what how good your business could be if you're just giving up after you don't hear back from someone once, right? So sequence your follow-ups in a smart and strategic way, and you will quite literally, the evidence shows, double your leads, right? It's, you have to push through it. The instinct is to want to say, all right, well, Joe didn't respond, therefore I'm not going to bother him again. But you gotta, like, it's really important to think about the value that you can offer Joe, and that you really have the ability to transform Joe's life, and you don't want Joe to miss out. Therefore, you're going to keep on altruistically or ethically, let's say, because it's not altruistic, ethically being aggressive in the service of helping as many people with your mission as possible. All right. Of course, if someone asks you not to contact them again, you don't, but very rarely will that ever happen. I mean, the real most common response is no response. I mean, most people will simply not respond at all. But once in a while, I'll get somebody who will say, you know, don't email me again, or they'll say something, very rarely is it not nice, but that happens too on occasion. And if that happens, obviously you just take them off of your follow-up list. All right, so I hope this has been helpful. You can download all of these in the course community. And if you have any questions, as always, post them, and I'm happy to help with what I can. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful day.